and gentlemen, I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you this morning. And today I'd like to begin with my briefing of a review of our 2019 safety performance in the industry, and then share a few thoughts on the 737 MAX situation. And later I will talk to you about our ongoing safety initiatives, and then I will hand over, as mentioned by Perry, the podium to my colleague Careen. So let me begin with our mid-year update on the 2019 accidents, as classified by our Accident Classification Technical Group at their June meeting a few months ago. So please note that usually this meeting takes place in July for a review of the first full half of the year. But exceptionally, in 2019, the group met on June 15. So during the first half of this year, we had, from January 1st to June 15, there were a total of 20 accidents worldwide, of which 3 resulted in jet hull losses and 1 turboprop hull loss. And out of those 20, 3 were fatal accidents, all of them in jet aircraft, which accounted for 201 fatalities. Just to put this in context, for the full year of 2018, there were 62 accidents, of which 11 were fatal, accounting for 523 deaths. Now, let's see how the industry performed compared to the long-term trend. This graph shows a continued reduction in accidents when considering a rolling 5-year average rate. And this next slide is showing the all-accident rate broken down by geographical region as of June 15. Again, it is a comparison between the first half, or almost the first half of 2019, with the full year of 2018. And because of that, only preliminary results. Looking at the regional occurrence of accidents, we see that most regions experience a decline, while both Sub-Saharan Africa and North America saw increases in these numbers. Now this slide indicates the all-accident rate for IATA versus non-IATA members in the 2015-2019 time frame. That is a 4.5-year period broken down by IATA region. IATA registered airlines consistently outperform non-IATA airlines in every region. And as you know, all IATA members must be on the IATA register. Although the Accident Classification Technical Group will not meet until after the year is over, here we have a preliminary look at where we believe we are with the second half of this year. From June 16 to December the 2nd, a few days ago, there have been 3 fatal events that together accounted for 26 fatalities among passengers and crew. These accidents will be formally classified when the group meets in January 2020 in a few more days. So this brings the total number of fatalities this year through December the 2nd to 220, plus 10 fatalities, unfortunately, on the ground on the last accident in November. So now I would like to share some thoughts about the 737 MAX. The airline industry, as you know, has been deeply affected by the 2 tragedies involving this aircraft. Airline accidents are extremely rare, and certainly 2 accidents involving the same aircraft type within a few months of each other are even a more rare event. In fact, it was this extraordinary situation that led to an extraordinary outcome. Usually, the original certifying authority takes the decision to ground the aircraft, and then the other civil aviation authorities follow. In this occasion, it didn't happen this way. So when the 737 MAX is flying back again, the traveling public needs confidence in the integrity of the airplane. So if a state authorizes return to service, there should be no suggestion from other states that they don't agree with the action. And we are not saying, of course, that any state should follow any other state blindly. But the collaboration between them be for the purpose of establishing an effective consensus regarding the airworthiness of the aircraft. IATA held in recent months 2 737 MAX summits to facilitate discussions among current and future 737 MAX operators around return to service and other related issues. Regulators, including ICAO, pilot unions, aircraft leasing companies, training organizations, and Boeing also attended these 2 summits. The key takeaways were that first, public and employee confidence in the 737 MAX is critical to its successful return to service. And second, mutual recognition of aircraft certification is critical also, not only for the Boeing 737 MAX, but for all future aircraft. So accordingly, IATA will continue to support airlines by advocating for the alignment and for the coordination of state validation requirements on a global basis, and by defending strongly the long-standing mutual recognition certification process. This will help to rebuild public confidence. And now I would like to talk and to tell you what is new with our Global Aviation Data Management Program, or GADM. As the number of accidents decline, future safety gains will mostly take place by achieving a better understanding of what is happening in the more than 100,000 flights that operate safely every day. No accidents and no incidents, 100% safety. Furthermore, techniques to improve aviation safety have moved beyond the analysis of isolated accidents or incidents to data-driven analysis of trends and the interaction between the links in the air transport chain. This is what the GADM program is about. It offers a comprehensive cross-database analysis supporting a proactive data-driven approach for advanced trend analysis and predictive risk mitigation. The data captured in GADM comprises accident and incident reports, ground damage occurrences, and flight data from over 470 different industry participants. GADM is comprised of several different databases. Today I would like to focus on one of them, the New Incident Data Exchange, or IDX. In the IDX, we have merged 2 very mature databases, formerly called STIDS and GDDB, into one, in a far more comprehensive and user-friendly format. And for the first time, we are also collecting information on issues like unruly passengers, drones, air traffic management, related events, and much more. So today, I'm happy to announce the official launch of this database, of IDX. This platform offers a secure, robust environment and improved user management, providing operators and industry stakeholders a seamless experience to contribute data, track the quality of their data, and consume various relevant analytics, all through a single, easy-to-use portal. Now, let's talk a little bit about the status of our audit programs. In terms of our safety audits, the IATA Operational Safety Audit, or IOSA, continues to be the industry standard, and I would like to share a few recent highlights with you. In 2019, in June 2019, a few months ago, IATA introduced a new methodology for the IOSA program under which the effectiveness of an IOSA standard implementation will be audited. The operators are now being assessed whether an IOSA requirement is not only implemented and documented, but also effective. While designing this methodology, IATA oriented itself in the SMS evaluation tool developed by a very important safety group in the industry, the Safety Management International Collaboration Group, which consists of member authorities such as FAA, EASA, Transport Canada, ANAC from Brazil, and CASA Australia, with ICAO also as an observer. This new methodology introduces several improvements to the IOSA program. For example, the new method applies on selected standards and represents a first move from compliance-based auditing towards a maturity assessment of an operator's safety practices, rather than only assessing purely conformity. In addition to the assessment of documentation and implementation of a given IOSA standard, the method introduces two new maturity levels, which are suitability and effectiveness. This means that when auditing a standard that requires, for example, a hazard identification and risk mitigation program, the airline is now required to meet suitability criteria such as nature, size and complexity of the operation, and effectiveness criteria, such as a regular review of the mitigation actions and the maintenance of a risk register, just as a specific example. So after a few months of implementation so far, over 100 audits have been performed with the new auditing effectiveness methodology, and our preliminary data shows that a significant number of operators have opportunity to more effectively implement a given safety standard than they have been doing in the past. So this finding confirms the added value of the new method, which will be refined further next year in 2020. So in summary, with the auditing effectiveness methodology, the IOSA audit goes beyond the conformity and assess how effective operators are implementing their safety management system. And we believe that for IOSA program and all our auditing programs, regulatory recognition is a key element for the success of these programs. So the ICAO Assembly had recognized the safety benefits of IOSA in two resolutions in the previous years, and states complement their oversight programs with IOSA results. IOSA supports states in their oversight of foreign code-share agreements, foreign operator approvals, risk-based approach, and even domestic operators. Some states also have mandated their own operators to become IOSA registered. And just as an example, good information, more than 60 countries and organizations recognize the IOSA program in different ways, including as a means to complement state safety oversight. Among those states, for example, Australia, Brazil, China, Egypt, Finland, Turkey, USA, the European Union, and others. Just in 2019, IATA signed MOUs with Mozambique, Singapore, Macau, Hong Kong, Jordan, Latvia, Georgia, Moldova, Jordan, Kuwait, and Germany. Important information. So now, I would like to give you an update on the IATA Standards Safety Assessment, or ISSA. As you may know, we launched this program to help improve safety in operators with fleet that does not meet the IOSA requirements of aircraft size, and because of that cannot be IATA members. We are talking about aircraft below 5,700 kilograms of maximum takeoff weight, which is equivalent to a small turboprop aircraft with 1 or 2 engines. we are very proud to announce great progress in this program this year. In May 2019, a few months ago, IATA initiated a collaboration with the Latin American and Caribbean Air Transport Association, ALTA, in which ALTA promotes ISSA with IATA in its region. The collaboration with ALTA has proven to be very successful. Today, it resulted in 16 new ISSA engagements from the Latin region. In September and November 2019, IATA started similar collaborations with the African Airline Association and the Airline Association of Canada. And I'm sure that the new collaborations will continue growing the success and to improve the safety for these type of operators in these regions. There are currently 9 ISSA airlines registered and 3 airlines are in the closure process. There will be, these operators will soon be included in the ISSA registry. So in summary, at least 20 airlines are expected to be in the registry at the end of 2020. And the third safety audit program we would like to talk about today is the IATA Safety Audit for Ground Operations, or ISEG. IATA, as a response to our member airlines' concerns about the high risk and cost of aircraft ground damage, developed and published standards and operation procedures based on industry best practices. We incorporated ground operations into our safety database, and in 2008, we launched ISEG. The IATA Safety Audit for Ground Operation is a program specifically designed to improve ground operation safety and the safety of people working in ground handling. In just over a decade, ISEGO has grown, and in 2018 we introduced improvements to raise the safety bar. ISEGO reaches every area of the world. Today we have nearly 180 ground service providers that are ISEGO registered, operating at nearly 200 airports worldwide. They include the large ground service providers that are truly multinational and global, as well as single airport operators. The ground handling business is not an easy business. Contracts change frequently and are particularly price sensitive. But we have every confidence that a ground service provider that has an ISEGO registration is fully equipped to meet the safety demands of airlines, airports, and the flying public. In addition to that, we are very proud to announce that for the first time, ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization, has published just a few weeks ago its manual on ground handling, which shows a strong recognition of the role of ground handling and is largely based on the IATA Ground Operations Manual, IGOM, and the ISEGO program. And before I close, I would like to briefly talk about the new ICAO mandate for the Global Reporting Format, or GRF, for runway surface conditions. Runway excursions, as you know, remain one of the top challenges to aviation, with a big impact in terms of safety and cost. In all of this, obviously, effective braking is of paramount importance. And the assessment of runway surface condition and reporting, which is addressed by ICAO through its Global Reporting Format, or GRF, plays a vital role. This new methodology has been mandated by ICAO globally from the 5th of November next year, in 2020. The ICAO mandate requires global use and knowledge of the reporting standards. And IATA has partnered with ICAO to offer an e-learning course to help flight crew, flight planners, and dispatchers worldwide. The course will be available in mid-January 2020, and we are really very happy about the potential of this joint effort between ICAO and IATA. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your attention, and I will invite my colleague, Nick, to come to the podium. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thanks very much, Gilberto. As mentioned, we'll hold questions to the end, and now it's my pleasure to introduce Nick Careen, our Senior Vice President, Airport, Passenger, Cargo and Security.
Good morning, everybody. I apologize, I'm not mic'd up like Gilberto, so I'm going to do it from sitting down, but I think the message will still be, will resonate and still be as effective. It's not lost on me that I'm between you and lunch, so I will try to cover these topics that are very relevant, and so I'll start off primarily with an area that sort of bridges the gap, or bridges across a safety and a security issue. So it's a good topic to take off from Gilberto's excellent presentation in terms of where we are as an organization on managing safety for the industry. So lithium batteries, the movement, demand, and use of this commodity over the last number of years has increased significantly. In fact, I'm willing to bet that everyone in this room has some form of lithium on them today, powering their phone, their wireless speakers, their cameras, their you name it. So as you can see, that this gets here and has to travel, and it's primarily traveled on aircraft. So the current forecast has this shipment for this product growing at a compound annual growth rate of around 22% over the next 5 years. This is great. I mean, where would we be without all of those electronics? I don't think, I know certainly my kids would not survive. But we need to be able to make sure that some of the inherent risks with the movement of this product and commodity is managed properly. So, with respect to the movement of lithium batteries, the importance to note, the shipment of this is safe as long as it is moved in the standards and regulations that have been set forth. When those are followed, there is no issue. But the main source of concern is what we refer to as rogue shippers, when they enter the supply chain. These are the people that don't follow the rules and are also shipping counterfeit batteries, and not only not meeting the shipping standards, they don't meet the manufacturing standards either. And of course, we've all seen what that looks like when these devices explode as a result. In fact, again, I would venture a guess that a large number of people in this room have purchased a battery that was cheaper, that was probably not from the manufacturer. And chances are, it was one of those. So as a result, we're not sitting on our laurels, we're not resting. We take this issue extremely seriously. The safety risks we are aware of, and we're taking action accordingly. One example of that is firstly to start with governments. And really, when we speak to governments, it's primarily around enforcement and accountability when it comes to the movement of dangerous goods, and in particular, lithium. So in this case, we do need governments to step up and take action. We need them to make sure, first and foremost, that the rules are followed. We need governments to penalize the offenses when they occur, which is not the case today. We need governments to focus on the elimination of the counterfeit markets. We know where they are. And we need to criminalize the actions which place aircraft and passengers' safety at risk, which again is not the case today. Secondly, it's our focus. We also, it's not only a government responsibility here, we have work to do with the industry itself. So we've launched a new reporting system, which is real-time, not very different from the system that Gilberto referred to. This gives us an opportunity to manage incidents as they happen, to learn from them, to share that information, and to leverage and improve. We've also launched an industry awareness campaign focusing on the regions where compliance has been the challenge. We're conducting seminars and working with other trade associations, as well as the World Customs Organization, to build education and awareness on this subject. And facilitation. We're pushing for a facilitated, joined-up industry approach, working with governments, in particularly calling upon ICAO to take a more broader view of this issue and develop a cross-domain approach, including aspects not only of safety, but security, manufacturing standards, packaging standards, consumer protection, and develop all these methods as we move forward. And lastly, our focus has been on the passenger. While lithium batteries are only moved on cargo aircraft, there is a risk that lithium batteries can end up in the cargo holds of passenger aircraft in the form of checked luggage. So in order to address this, we've launched a campaign last year for an awareness campaign for our employees and for our passengers to remind them of the hazards and the risks. These efforts are ongoing and will continue for the foreseeable future to ensure we stay on top of this very important topic and also be prepared for the next product, because there will be another dangerous goods that will replace this one in the future. Thanks very much. So now into what would be more of the hard spec security stuff, and I'll start with cyber and then move into transformation of security, primarily focusing on the checkpoint, which may be of interest to most in the room who travel. So nowadays, as you know, you really can't turn on the TV, scroll through social media, or open a paper or magazine without seeing some reference to cyber attacks, cyber vulnerabilities, or cyber security. I guess we can say welcome to the digital age. Over the course of the global technological and digital boom, we have seen numerous high-profile events, whether that was ransomware, or on our computers, or some rather significant data breaches, which we may recall at Adobe, Sony, and Marriott, just to name a few. So needless to say, cybersecurity has become a significant issue for many industries, and the aviation industry is not immune to it either. So in the next few minutes, I want to illustrate that as an industry, we aren't taking this lightly, and that like any other safety issue, this is a top priority, and that we remain safe while we develop our approach in this area. I killed it. There we go. Of all industries, ours has gone through some significant change in terms of digitization, and we've all seen it. We've seen it on the passenger experience, first and foremost, but also on our aircraft as well. The advancement has brought with it significant improvements for us, whether it's in terms of customer service, performance, communications, safety. Virtually every facet of our business has benefited from this digitization. Just in my lifetime, which is not that long, when I started in this industry back in 1994, a part of our business called crew scheduling, I started with, the technology was a ruler, a piece of paper, a red pen, and a pencil. And nowadays, we would never even function that way. So, but with all that investment comes some cyber vulnerabilities. So, okay, with all of that, truly, where are the risks? We've seen a number of examples of data breaches that some of our members have endured just in the last year, but previously as well. And whilst this is, of course, a major concern, and a lot of work is focused on the protection of data itself, flight safety is where we tend to focus most of our attention. So this is a very busy slide, but the main thing you need to take from it is connectivity. More and more information is passed from various systems to the aircraft, and the aircraft itself talking and sending information, all to manage the operations on a daily basis. At the center of all of this communication is the aircraft. So essentially, the digital footprint of the aircraft has increased, and as a result, protection against intentional interference has become increasingly relevant. One very, very important note. While data breaches have been sustained, and despite numerous claims no systems critical to flight safety have ever been compromised or put at risk. But this does not mean we can just rest on our laurels as we evolve and technology and innovation continues. For an industry that has maintained safety as its primary objective, we put cyber to the forefront of the most recent ICAO assembly. In light of all the things I just mentioned, unanimous resolution A40-10 was passed by the states, reaffirming the importance and urgency of protecting civil aviation's critical infrastructure against cyber attacks. And the commitment follows along 7 pillars: international cooperation, governance, effective legislation and regulation, state aviation cybersecurity policies, information sharing, incident management and emergency planning, and capacity building in terms of training and cultural development. As an industry, it's our goal to now work with ICAO and states to build upon these pillars. As we say, put more meat on the bones. We assisted in this regard just last week as we hosted the 7th meeting of the ICAO Secretariat Study Group on Cybersecurity at our offices in Montreal. This meeting was intended to put the final touches on the action plan, which will be sent to states for endorsement in 2021. As an industry, we are also taking the issue seriously and working with other members, partners like airports, air navigation service providers, and manufacturers to assist us in developing these standards, ensuring that regulations are fit for purpose or smart, and that we reduce technology gaps where we see that they exist. Together, as we will lead the industry in terms of sharing information between our members, sharing best demonstrated practices amongst our members, developing relevant and up-to-date training, and fostering an environment whereby cybersecurity is embedded in our culture just like safety is. This is no small task, and the landscape changes frequently. But like we have in all circumstances in this industry, and why we are the safest mode of transportation, we will keep this at the forefront as our new reality of operating. And the last topic, before we take some questions, is really to talk about the opportunity to transform aviation security. Focusing on the checkpoint, and you'll see as I go through this. So, as we all know in this room, aviation security clearly is a critical subject in many areas requiring lots and lots of focus. Today's presentation, I would like to speak a little bit about technology that's available to us and how we believe that, combined with a change in mindset, could improve our utilization of our checkpoints in the future. So I would like to start off this presentation by simply asking a very simple question of the people in the room. So, by a show of hands, how many people here today, while you queue up at security, ask yourself, surely there has to be a better way than this? Okay, that's about where I thought of. I do, and I'm incensed by it, unfortunately. And I really had an opportunity 2 nights ago in Montreal. As I went through the checkpoint in Montreal, and I stood there for 30 minutes before I even got processed. Once I got to the line and to get processed, I was rushed through it, pushed through it, really. And as I was sitting there getting dressed again, after being randomly selected for a pat-down, I put my shoes on, I put everything back in my bag, and I couldn't help but wonder, why? And I also asked myself, this is not sustainable for the future. And don't get me started on costs and the fact that we're there with 13 lanes, yes, I counted them, 13 lanes with 3 open. Or the fact that they turned me away from the trusted traveler lane only to allow me to use it when the queue was too long. Unfortunately, this is our reality today. For those who travel, and while things have gotten slightly better than they have been in the past, it is the major pain point in travel. In fact, according to our most recent global passenger survey, it's one of the biggest customer complaints. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. So today I will attempt to illustrate how and why we believe there is a better way, and it's ripe for the picking. So you can see I'm maybe a little bit more passionate about this than some other topics. The first step towards improving this is technology. X-ray technology has advanced to a point and is available to us now using computed topography and diffraction, which will now allow us to better screen us as we go through the process. Not only looking for metals, but also the newer threats around substances, like liquids and gels. The benefits of implementing this technology would be widespread in terms of automated explosive detection, so no more getting pulled out of the line for that. Reduced requirements to divest and unpack. Imagine what that would look like. Think about a checkpoint experience where that fatal mascara won't have to be surrendered, or that threatening bottle of water that you paid $10 for at the airport overpriced kiosk is no longer confiscated, or that you simply walk through and carry on to your gate with as little friction as possible. How about coupling that with passenger information? In this case, linking your biometric, be it retina, fingerprint, face, to your airline reservation, and simply using that as your means of moving through the process. No more paper. And again, less friction. In our last global passenger survey, 70%, this goes up every year, are prepared, and this is summarizing what they say, but are prepared to surrender whatever it takes and provide governments with whatever information they want to improve this. So, no, everybody wants it. The majority of our customers are asking for it. And the third element is data. Data which governments already have, which governments are already collecting today. Whether that's through advanced passenger information, called API, through PNR, passenger name records, through ETAs and visas, through our passport, the information is being collected and is available. There's enough data to choke us, and there's enough data to manage the risk. Problem is, it isn't used thoroughly, and it's not shared. So with this technology and data, we want to see governments manage the risk. One size fits all may make lawmakers, may make politicians feel good, but it doesn't make us any more secure. So we want to see the eventual implementation of risk-based security measures. Okay, another survey. By show of hands, how many people in this room feel that it's odd, no matter how much information you provide, how much clothes you take off, or how often you fly, we all still go through the exact same screening process? Okay? Again, we're all on the same page. Or how about this? Fly 10,000 miles, land at another airport, and be forced to rescreen again because somehow you are more of a risk than you were 10 hours ago. We are wasting our limited resources treating everyone the same way. And we are driving our costs up by not differentiating. Furthermore, an argument can be made that by spreading ourselves thin like this, we create more of a risk. So the bottom line is this has to change. But a key point that often comes up in these debates is to call this profiling. Somehow that's become a dirty word in aviation and in security. But there's nothing wrong with developing parameters that would suggest one person is more of a risk than the other. Have you ever tried to get a loan from the bank? Have you ever had a credit risk score? How about credit cards? Have you ever made a purchase and then have the second one declined? Ever flagged? These scenarios are normal and in play all around us every day. So you can call it what you want, but the basic facts are 99% of us are no threat to aviation. And to continue to operate like we do is not sustainable, not logical, and no more effective than to satisfy some bureaucrat or politician that they are maintaining some sort of security baseline. So what's risk-based? It's intelligence-driven. Most times, we know who the bad people are. So let's move away from a one-size-fits-all. Risk-based is incumbent on us to have a baseline of security measures that we all follow, and that must be applied. But for those that require a higher level and are flagged, focus on them. In some parts of our network, we see elements of that. There are trusted traveler programs that actually work. The TSA is actually a good example of trying to be progressive in that regard. Or in Melbourne, Australia, where new X-ray technology is being implemented that has shown vast improvements on throughput, as I described earlier. So there are the willing, just not the size amount that we need to get to where we need to be. So when we are successful convincing governments and regulators to eventually move to a more risk-based approach, the benefits are endless. I could spend the rest of the morning or into the afternoon explaining what those were, and I think that anyone that travels understands them. Throughput would increase dramatically. Customer satisfaction would increase immediately. Facility use would be maximized and avoid future space requirements as we grow. I'm sure this morning you heard about the potential doubling in growth in the aviation industry and the previous doubling of growth in the aviation industry for the last 10 years. Where are we going to put everybody? We'll have checkpoints that are bigger than the airport. It would make us safer. And it would cost less. And there's a piece of work required, especially in jurisdictions, I'm in Canada and in the US as well, where the money collected for this amount on consumers is immense and does not all get fully funded into security and basically goes into general coffers to pay down debt or anything else that the government chooses to use that money for. And it's not security. So I painted a utopian view of what we believe a security checkpoint of the future should look like. We do continue to work with our partners in airports, ACI, on smart security and others, manufacturers, to try to improve the existing process as it stands today. And on top of that, we do plan to implement our vision of governments embracing risk-based measures through better use of technology and data. Our future efforts will remain on policy changes, whether that's through ICAO or working with individual states that are like mind, and they're out there. Improved collaboration within the industry, sharing information, trending data, and communicating best demonstrated practices, leveraging. We need to support and instigate more pilots, more proof of concepts, so that we can illustrate to the consumers And the consumers speak, governments listen. We need to encourage governments to better utilize the data that they're already collecting to help expedite the improvements that we are seeking. And we need to foster the baseline measures and a system of mutual recognition, please, 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 to eliminate the redundant and unnecessary layers of government that the governments have created. Check and recheck. Heaven forbid you make 2 connections internationally. And if you want to extrapolate the benefits from that and take that to the environment, if we could reduce elapsed time of connections, we could improve the utilization of our aircraft and subsequently reduce our footprint as well. The willingness and desire of our customers are clear. The need for change is evident as we all travel. The technology is already existing, so we don't even need new technology. We just need positive action in the right direction. And as stated, we see pockets of that, but not enough. We will leverage our knowledge and support of the consumers to eventually make this a reality. And hopefully, in a day, in a not too distant future, I won't have to argue with an outsourced checkpoint person why I believe the spoon from my yesterday's lunch that I forgot in my bag won't be used as a weapon of mass destruction. I jest, but now is the time to stop the theater and get serious about fixing the issue once and for all. But I fear, while safety in our industry has progressed immensely, as illustrated by Gilberto, those responsible for security, well, let's just say the 1940s called and they want their ideas back. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Nick. We do have some time